You know, it seems so far that Senate Republicans have been very hands-off in all of this, despite all of the catastrophic implications of a government shutdown, which will hurt their states just as much as it'll hurt Republicans' districts in the House and Democrats' districts. Is there a plan B? Because spending bills obviously must emerge from the House, but is there some conversation about what to do if they shut the government down? What then?
You know, this is the problem. It takes both houses of Congress, the House and the Senate, to agree on a spending bill, whether it's a short term or whether it's the overall budget for next year, in order to keep the government funded. There's no way around the decision that Kevin McCarthy has to make about whether he leaves a handful of extremists in charge who are just hell-bent on imposing pain on the American people so that Donald Trump can improve his chances of getting elected in 2024, or whether Kevin McCarthy is going to say enough of this. I've got plenty of other Republicans, plus a lot of Democrats, who would vote in favor of a reasonable spending bill just to keep the government up and running, keep our economy going, and keep us doing the actual business of the government. That's what we should be doing.
You know, one of the pieces of business that needs to be done is to pass a defense authorization bill. Now, there was a negotiated bill that was a done deal. It was just a procedural vote to push it through. That has not happened. Meanwhile, on the Senate side, Tommy Tuberville has been grinding the process of military promotions to a halt. That ended a little bit today. There now will be a replacement for the Joint Chiefs Chair, Mark Milley. What is the plan there? Because we've done the math, or actually some folks have done the math. It would take about, 30 days or a couple of months if they're done one by one. How long would it take?
Longer than that, actually. Some of the estimates, it's if we go 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the way around, people are talking about hundreds of days that would be chewed up with the military nominations. And that's time that we can't spend voting on a budget. It's time we can't spend confirming judges. It's time we can't spend on all of the other nominations that we have as well, like ambassadorships and assistant secretaries of different agencies. But understand this, what Senator Tuberville has done is undermined our national security. He has made America a riskier country now. And don't just take my word for it. Take the word of our active duty military, of our retired military, and even of Republicans who have stepped up and said, this is dangerous for the United States of America. And think what it means. You couldn't ask for better propaganda for our adversaries than the fact that the United States of America cannot get its military leaders into their duty stations so they can actually do their jobs. That's where we are. Now, Senator Tuberville is starting to feel a lot of heat around the Senate and a lot of heat nationally. What we've now seen is that there's a crack that has opened. So last night and again today, Leader Schumer moved 3 military nominations forward altogether so that we didn't spend days and days on it as the Senate rules would otherwise require. That is a first step in getting this done, but make no mistake, we have to do more. We have more than 300 nominees who are hanging out there, more than 300 military families who are trying to manage homes in 2 places because they can't get from where they are right now to the next duty station, children who have not been registered in the right schools, a political football that Senator Tuberville has turned our military into. We have to put a stop to this, and we have to find a way to move all of these people through together. Our national defense depends on moving our military leaders forward and getting Senator Tuberville out of the way.
It seems that what Tuberville is doing, what others are doing, does seem in many instances to entertain essentially to entertain the viewers of one network, Fox, and other right-wing media. It doesn't seem that there's a governing purpose beyond that, oftentimes. You have called Fox a dangerous, factory of lies and been very blunt in your assessment of the damage that they've done to our democracy. Do you have a comment on the fact that Rupert Murdoch at 92 is now stepping down and is becoming an emeritus and no longer will be running that company?
Rupert Murdoch built a hate-for-profit machine, and that machine has undermined our democracy and done incalculable damage to this nation. I'm glad he's leaving, but I wish he'd never come.
I want to ask you also about Saudi Arabia. Brett Baer at Fox did an interview with Prince Salman. They are laundering their reputation through lots and lots of purchases and investments in everything from golf to you name it. They're throwing money around, including what they gave to Jared Kushner, $2 billion to him, $1 billion to Steve Mnuchin. What are they buying for all that largesse, and what is the U.S., getting out of it? Because it does seem that what they're getting is a laundry that they're calling the United States and our culture.
Joy, I think you think about this exactly the right way. They are trying to find a way to put a prettier face on a lot of horrific actions that both this leader has taken directly and that the kingdom itself has underwritten around the world. And I get it. It'll work in some circles, but I guarantee what they've done so far, not good enough for most people around the world.
And a final question, just to come back to the Senate again, because the person who should be the most influential over someone like a Tommy Tuberville would be Mitch McConnell. He's had some obvious health issues recently and some falls, and we've seen some things happen on camera that were fairly disturbing. Is he in charge? Where is Mitch McConnell? Because he doesn't seem to have been a very prominent figure in pushing back against some of these abuses, and we have a government shutdown potentially in 9 days.
Look, I'm going to put it this way. Senator Tuberville has been enabled by all of the Republicans in the Senate. The Republicans in the Senate have permitted him for 7 months now to block military leaders from going to their posts and doing their work. And they've gone along with it. They've looked the other way when they've been asked about it. They've mumbled and fumbled and let Senator Tuberville continue to inflict growing trouble and pain on our national defense. I put this on the entire Republican Senate caucus. They are the ones who together, under the leadership of Senator McConnell, need to stop this with Senator Tuberville. This has got to end. I was over talking with the folks in NATO just a few weeks ago, and they talked about what it means that we don't actually have anyone over there to lead the delegation. And they talked about how rank matters. You have to have the right person in the room. And when we have someone who's just in an acting position and lower rank, it's a way to say to our allies, you're not serious in this alliance. And our support then wanes at that point. So you can replicate that right now all around the globe. I just can't underscore enough the urgency of stopping Senator Tuberville as he continues to undercut our national security.